Alright, today's video is on the fuse that you see on top of the S-mines. The S-mine 35 is the German bouncing mine, or bounding mine, from the Second World War, designed in 1935. Anyways, it's the ones that they call the bouncing Bettys in all the movies and nickname and everything for it. This is a dug example of a fuse from one of those. As you can see, one of the prongs is broken, which I'll have to replace. And this video I'll just show you the basics of how it works. First off, this right here is just a safety pin. Prevents you from pushing on the fuse. So what you do is you remove that after you've placed the mine. And you pull it out. Inside there, I'm not sure if you could see it, there's a little ball detent or detent with a spring, and it rides up into the hole where the screw goes. I'm going to remove the screw and the prongs here for the rest of this, so bear with me. Trusty Swiss Army knife. Normally in these mines, the only thing above the ground would be about that, the prongs. That way the whole mine was completely invisible. There were other fuses that were used on it, but this is probably the most well known. This is a pressure fuse, and surprisingly complicated. And is also probably the reason I don't think they were making them throughout the whole war. Could be wrong about that, but I do know in 44 they'd switched the type of fuse and the type of bounding mine. Anyways, these pull out now pretty easily. When I first got it, they were jammed in there pretty tight. So you pull these out. Anyways, alright, there's three parts, well, four pieces to this body. The bottom one is just where the cap goes. In this case I have placed a Remington shotgun primer in. It fits, the bigger ones don't. I haven't crimped it in place, which means that if you hit it, it'll probably pop out this way. Anyways, the middle section gives you some distance for the firing pin to, or the striker to go through. Also, if you look inside it, you could see there's a rim there. You'll see what the rim is for in the next little bit. Then you just pull this out here. This is the spring that you saw when I pushed on it before. So it keeps it up. Pushes on here, and that's where it's pushing. Alright. We'll remove the spring, grab the parts that don't keep in it. If you could see the spring that's in there, there's a little ball bearing on the other side of the spring, and that's what keeps the pin in place, locks it in the middle part where you see right here. Alright, anyways, we'll take the last bit of this. If I get the spring out, there we go. That's just the weather protection that goes on the top of the mine. From there it looks like a piece of paper or cardboard. Alright, so now the ingenious part of this is the little striker that you have here, and that fits in here with the spring. Put the spring in for now. Anyways, and this goes in like that. And this is pushed so that this little part here is actually lined up with those holes there. When it's lined up with those holes, you've got these two little ball bearings that fit in here. One on this side, one on this side here. And that is actually what keeps this plunger held up there. When it's in the tube and well, in this part of the casing here, and it's up to about here, the ball bearings are forced up against that ring that you see in there, which makes it so that they push and they can't come out, which means that it's holding the plunger in on either side with the bearings. Once you put enough weight on it to push this down past that ring, the ball bearings are able to expand, which releases the firing pin or plunger or whatever you want to call it, which then flies down and hits the or strikes the primer that was in it, which initiates the delay on the grenade. These grenades, as I said, it was pressure, so as soon as you stepped on it, you've started the delay. There is no Hollywood, hold my foot on it, I don't have to worry about anything. As soon as you pushed it down, those bearings removed and the striker fired. So I'll attempt to put it back together here with the striker on camera. Might not be very clear for everyone because it is a little bit difficult to do. There is supposed to be a special tool for it. I don't own that special tool, so anyways, we'll start. First things first, guess it wouldn't be second, right? You place this in here like this. You take the spring. As you can see, mine was, since it was dug up and water got in, you have some electrochemical corrosion that formed. Anyways, that jammed the spring up and the whole thing didn't move. So if anyone owns one of these and it doesn't move, it's a good chance that it's from that. Anyways, next thing you do is you take the bearings and you place them in. The spring actually holds them in place for me, which I find useful. Alright, now once they're in place, you take the spring with the plunger, place it there, and you take this and you screw the whole thing together. Now the slightly difficult part is pushing the plunger in while forcing down on the housing, and then bring the housing up while the plunger is locked in place. So push this down, push that up, push that right down, release, and as you see, the striker is in place. Now just to show you, I will launch it like this. I'm not going to place this on, I'll make a lot of noise now. I'll do it in the next part of this video. Alright, so first thing, we'll make sure the safety here works. Technically, if this was placed, you couldn't push down on this and have it fire, as you see here. Now I don't know exactly how much, but it's a couple of pounds of pressure here. So you can hear it fire when I push down hard enough here. And that's all it takes to set one of these mines going. And you can see there's a nice little dent or crack on this lid now. Anyways, and that's how that works. I'll do a live fire next once I get this back together. Alright, let's see if I can give this thing a quick test. It's got the primer in it. Safety pins removed. Alright, we'll take it apart and see what it did. If it damaged anything. Decent strike. And apparently no damage to the housing. So that is probably the first time it's fired since whoever it was pulled it out of the ground and deactivated it, I guess you would say. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed that. This here, as I said, somebody sold me, and it was in the condition you basically see it in, except it was all pinned and closed up. First thing, all the springs were pretty much rusted in them, but they actually still work, so I'm able to use them for now. I can put a list of measurements up for anyone who needs to replace parts on theirs. There is some aluminum in this, but I don't think the whole thing is made out of aluminum. I can't tell you exactly what because I don't have any documentation on these things. I'm assuming this one here was made in 37 because of the last two digits, but that's just completely uneducated guess. I don't know what the RR stands for. It's on a few of these different ones, but I'm sure there's people, historians out there, or amateur historians that could tell more about these things than I can. I just like the mechanics of them. So anyways, as I was saying before, once you've stepped on this, you're basically no way of stopping the actual mine. It will go off. I've heard that your best bet was to lie down if you managed to realize that you had set one off before the delay kicks up the mine, and well, before the delay runs out, hits the charge underneath the mine, launches it out of the ground, and then the mine explodes. If you were on the ground, most of the shrapnel would miss you. So I wouldn't want to test that, but I'm guessing if you had no other choice, that was your best bet. Anyways, this, as I said, when I got it, was all one piece. The person had tried to take the top off, but it didn't work very well. As you see, there are a couple of notches here when the whole mine's together, and properly torqued, they all line up. They were lined up, properly torqued, drilled about 1/8 of an inch right to the, as you see, right to the inner threads. And then a really soft metal pin, maybe even lead or whatever, was placed there to keep it from being opened. Since I wanted to open mine, I carefully drilled out just the lead. I didn't damage any of the metal around it, so the pin was removed, and then carefully I turned the housing with some protected pliers so that I didn't scratch or destroy the finish. Anyways, once that was off, the bottom part had the old cap still in it that had been drilled out. I popped that off pretty easily. This was pretty decent. Cleaned it all up a bit. As you see here, there's a lot of etching in there. The spring was basically seized up like this and completely white with what I'm assuming is aluminum oxide. The bearings had to be coerced out a bit, but they were in pretty good condition. As I said, the springs all pretty decent. This one was hard to get out, but all it took was cleaning. Once I freed the spring, got the pieces off the top, I was able to take the whole thing apart and properly clean and oil everything to get some of the junk off of it. And now I have a fully working, but not the prettiest of ZünderSMineAllemande fuses, which is shrapnel mine Zunder, which is German for fuse, I guess. 35 for the year of manufacture of the, or design of the mine. Anyways, if you have any questions on this, as I said, if you need any measurements, feel free to leave a comment at the bottom. Hope you enjoyed this. For me, I find fuses for mines and artillery and that very interesting. I know it's not everyone enjoys this kind of stuff, but hopefully you learned something today. Thanks for watching.